this movie. And this movie was about a guy, and it was years ago. And this guy he was in total poverty, and he lost his wife, and then he lost his children. And his children became part of the corrupt foster system. And he, basically was saying, I don't have the means. I don't have the means. And so they're going to stay in foster for a while because I can't get them back out. And I was watching another movie, and it was all about the fact that they were kind of pushing this narrative in the movie that the person couldn't afford a baby, so why not just abort it? So why not just get rid of it, because it would solve this problem? And then we always talk about getting back to God, and about, getting our country back to a high moral character, right? We have a lot of CIA running the country. We have a lot of CIA running the media. We have a lot of CIA everywhere. And we have a lot of people on the ground telling on their neighbors, working for them as civilians. And we just have so much, it's so thick right now. It's just so thick. And so if there was ever a time we needed God and discernment, it would be now, right? We got to discern the truth, because we're being lied to all the time. And then, of course, we've got to get back to God. But a lot of people don't know what that means. And I was thinking a lot about this as I was watching these particular movies. I like to watch older movies. I don't like the newer stuff as much as I like the older stuff, which is rare. It used to be the other way around. But I go back and I look at the messaging in movies, and I look at the narratives, and the narratives are always this. You have to just look at your situation, okay? Whatever's going on in your life. And that could be for you too. Job loss, spouse dying, kid, anything that's going on in your life right now. And instead of asking God for advice, and instead of asking and having the faith that he could help you solve the problem, we just immediately go to what we know to solve the problem and try to, and we leave God out of it. But as soon as something bad happens, we curse God for it. Do you know what I mean? So we're in a space where we have been narratived to death. We have been brainwashed to death. And when I look at all of the things happening right now in the world, and I'm thinking, if we ever needed to reach out and ask for help and guidance and everything else, it would be now. And we really need help when we're dealing with media, because media, and I've been in this animal for 16 years, and I am telling you that it's insane. It's insane what goes on in media. And the narratives are so thick. They're so thick. When people say return to God, a lot of people think they mean go back to church. And that's important, just because that support system is there, and it kind of keeps you on track weekly, right? And it's really good for you to be around like people and you can hear messages that inspire you for the following week, okay? Church is always good, but it's not just that. It's more than that. It's about, I have this problem. I turn to God because I have faith that he can help me solve it. In watching one of these movies, I was a single mom, and I had a baby, and I could have basically said, well, in what I'm dealing with, I'm going to abort it because I can't see 5 years from now, and it's all up to me, and I have to make this decision, and this is all I can do, and blah blah blah. I never did that. I turned to God. I said, what do I do? And of course, I was never going to abort, but I don't believe in that. But I turned to him for help. Hey, I'm having this baby. Can you help me financially? Can you help me to deal with the situation? Can you help me in every way, in every realm, and help me to understand what to do on a daily basis? I'm going to really need your help. And that worked out for me. Truly did. Doors were opened, windows were opened, lots of opportunities came, and I was able to pay the bills, and I was able to deal with the situation. Okay. And then I met my husband. He adopted her. And all I want to say is that we don't do that enough. We don't do that enough. We sort of drop the ball a little bit. We think it's all about just going back to church. It's not. It's all about, what is your reliance on him? In order to get this country back and to see what we're not seeing, to get unbrainwashed, to reverse the brainwashing of all the narratives, the only way to do that is to get closer to God. And we're going to have to teach our youth that there's going to be a lot of people out there messaging our youth, and they're going to appear to be great Christian people. I have my doubts. Turning Point backed by billionaires. I don't know. I know there's some good people in there, because I know some people in there. There's some good people in there that want good things. There really is. But you have to kind of look at overall messaging. Where is that headed? Where is it going? And what is it going to do to the youth? Where is it headed? I've had a lot of questions about Erica, a lot of questions about utilizing Christianity, right, to eventually see its demise, kind of like the Tea Party, right? The Tea Party, obviously Christianity much bigger, but the Tea Party, they did that. They sent in Newt Gingrich. And I've mentioned that a couple of times on the show, where I've said they sent in Newt to destroy it. They did. And they destroyed it, because he changed the messaging. He rerouted it. And I feel like that's what's happening. But our youth are subject to all these reels and shorts and all these video pieces they're seeing and all these different things. And I'm not saying they don't have a brain to think for themselves. They do. It's just that the brainwashing is so thick. And the brainwashing has been very, very heavy in Hollywood to get people to react to problems and situations without God, right? And you don't see it much. You don't ever see that, oh, well, did you pray about that? No, you never see that. You see, well, the person couldn't solve it, right? So the person's poor and he had to go to welfare. Well, did that person pray about getting out of that situation? Did he ask God for help? We never do that. We either say, you solve it or the government solves it. That's true brainwashing right there. For sure. So in getting back to God, it's going to be developing a relationship where whenever you need assistance, whenever you need him, and whenever you are creating that relationship, you are creating a relationship so that you're leaning on him and that we demonstrate faith. Did I think I was going to go there today? Not really. I mean, I was just going to have George on and go. But I think it's really important to listen closely to what everybody says in media. And I think it's important to be able to decipher and discern the messaging. Okay. And I think it's really important that we start really relying on God. I know, in the prepping world, which I've been a big component of, I love prepping, and I'm always advocating for that. At the end of the day, you can't prep as much as what we'll end up needing. And so what are you going to do? Well, hopefully you rely on God. Hopefully that relationship is there, and that's your first thought, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing I think that's going to get us through the different things that we go through. Our NSA spying is not going away. Doesn't matter who's president. Our nets have been cast, and they're only getting deeper, and it doesn't matter who's president. Doesn't matter which side. And no one's doing anything about exposing the Ukraine war because it really wasn't a war. No one's really looking at the fakery and really saying what's fake and what's not, right? And almost all of it is. It's so much fakery on stage, so much fakery. So we have so much to do, and we're going to need so much help to do it. And I fear that our nation, we don't have that relationship as strong as we need it to be able to rely, to get answers, to get help. And you don't have to solve it, and government should never solve it. They shouldn't. They should hardly be solving a thing out there. And we've gotten into trouble because we always think the government's the answer. A lot of people, I know you guys don't, but a lot of people out there, government must take care of this problem. Government must do that. Government must do this. I mean, talk about growing government in the very, very worst way. So a nation that's close to God has a relationship with God and has the faith component built in. So that you're constantly relying on God for his help. And I don't curse God when bad things happen because I really don't think they're his fault. And I think as all of us are experiencing things right now and stresses, I got my own package of stresses right now. Got a lot of stuff going on right now. And number one, get healthy. That's why I do this. That's why I drink this stuff. I love this stuff, by the way. Get healthy. We need all hands on deck and get that relationship with God. And I think that's really going to be important. Is this a Christian podcast? Not really, but I am. So I'll share my thoughts. But I just noticed this big like narrative that's been happening to us for so long and so embedded in the movies. Whenever something bad happens, a crisis happens in the movies, turning to God isn't what they do. And we've grown up with that our whole lives. And so thankfully, a lot of you are still faithful. A lot of you still demonstrate a lot of faith and understand what I'm talking about. But, oh man, we need to get our moral character back. We need people that see beyond government and our own limitations of what we can see and the limitations of how we solve our own problems, because it's very hard to do that. I rely on God a lot. And I have ever since I've gotten into media, because I knew as I started researching that I was going to be not part of the club. So I knew that it was going to get really, really tough, to be honest. It's a hard gig to be in because you see a lot. And it's not stuff I ever wanted to see. I didn't want to see any of this. 38,000 hours. I didn't want to see any of it. I didn't want to see what the deep state's capable of. And I don't want to see all the lies and all the horridness. But we do have that tether to God. So maybe we should strengthen that and utilize that to try to get through all this. I don't know. It's just going to be a lot of narratives going back and forth and distractions and disinformation and all kinds of stuff happening. And we have to have our discernment, which means you got to have that relationship to be able to discern. And then maybe our nation can rise a little. Just the thought for the day, thought for your Thursday and your weekend. How's that? I really appreciate you tuning in because you're awesome. What can I say? And I love your contributions to the show. And I love that you text in and write these messages. I love it. I've been reading through all your messages, so I really appreciate you. But we can get through a lot of things, and we're supposed to. I think this is what this life is for. We're supposed to be tried and tested, and it's okay to be tried and tested. And God isn't cursing you. He's right there with you. And maybe the tried and testing is kind of like the refiner's fire. And maybe that refiner's fire is really needed in our lives because maybe it makes us better. Even in the most horrible situation or grief or terribleness, maybe it makes us better. Maybe that's why he's allowing these things to happen to us, right? To be tried and tested. Because I don't ever grow in the good times. I only really grow in the bad times, right? And so I think we should be grateful for those as we are the good times. Everybody always says, "Hi, how are you?" And everybody goes, "Great, how are you?" It's like, if people were really honest, it would not end with great, because I'm sure a lot of people out there are really struggling. And but we like to hear it because we always like everything to be great. And if anything goes wrong, it's like, well, how dare something go wrong? Like God's not helping me. He's not on my side. Doesn't love me. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. It's the exact opposite, I think. So I'm just going to share that with you. I'm out, and really appreciate you tuning in. I can't find my bumper music to play out, so sorry. So you know what I'll do? I'll play this out. Support the show. Donate to the show. Keep me doing this. And I really appreciate you. Thank you for that. Go to katedalleyradio.com and support the show, because there's only a few of us left that aren't bought. I know it sounds terrible, but it's the truth. Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. I'm going to play my intro at the outro. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I'll see you on Monday. And by the way, Pam Bartha is coming on Tuesday, and Pam Bartha is the expert on parasites. if you have parasites and what kind of parasites, brain or body, or I mean, there's just so many different kinds. So Pam Bartha is on Tuesday, and I just want to let you guys know that too. But I will be back on Monday. So you guys have a great weekend. Great weekend. Thank you. Be faithful, be fearless. Find out why I say that on the website, katedalleyradio.com. Thanks, you guys.